For the next few quick singing tips, we're going to be talking about voice qualities, how we can change our voice to create different tones, different colours, to be able to add contrast throughout a song, but also to be able to approach different genres. And today we're talking about twang. What is twang? What does it sound like? Why is it useful? And then some easy ways to access and find your twang. So twang is great for boosting your sound in loud environments. Maybe if you're just out at the weekend, your voice is getting a bit tired. If you just add a bit of twang, then it will make your voice use a little bit easier. It's also great to produce a really strong sound when we don't want to belt, so it can be useful for our vocal stamina. It also gives us a different colour. It's often used for bright, contemporary musical theatre sounds, but often it's sometimes used for country singers as well. It can be described as nasal, but it doesn't have to be. So what does twang sound like? If I add a little bit of it into my speech now, you might find that it sounds a little bit brighter, maybe a little bit brassier. If I switch this on and add it to some singing, I'll show you something that is more of a character voice in some musical theatre, so you can hear what it sounds like. All I have to say is, I am happy to be sitting here, doing what is meaningful to me. And if you want to practice your twang at times like these from the Lucky Stiff is a great song to do it on. But you can also add it to higher notes when you're singing in your head voice or thin folds to create a louder sound. That's quite twangy. Again, you can adjust how much you're using it, and I'll show you how later. So what is the technical setup for twang? So the one main component in twang is a narrow AES, and that's the aryepiglottic sphincter. So this creates a small epilaryngeal tube above the vocal folds, and that just basically means the space above the larynx becomes its own separate resonator. We also have a higher larynx position and a higher tongue, and that makes the vocal tract a little bit smaller, so the sound resonates in a different way. If we want more nasal twang, our velum or our soft palate is in a more mid position, leaving the velopharyngeal port, which is the space between the nasopharynx and the oral pharynx, open. I'll pop a little diagram up to make more sense of that. So if this port, this space is a little bit open, this means that some of the sound will then be nasalized and resonate in the nasal cavity instead. However, as I said, you can make twang with the velum, the soft palate, high, so the sound resonates in the mouth more, but you've still got that smaller vocal tract, which makes that brighter resonance. In the still vocal model, and when we're talking about twang in this way, we do use twang on thin folds, which you might know as your head voice or M2, but it sounds so loud because of the high frequencies, and it creates this amazing acoustical resonance, which can sound quite penetrating, as I said, quite brassy and bright and quite loud. If you're stood next to someone who does a very loud twangy na 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 na, it can pierce through your ears quite easily. However, there are some elements of twang that you can take to add onto thick folds and your chest voice. But for today, we're going to explore twang in thin folds. So what does it feel like? How do we narrow our AES? How do we get a higher larynx? So the first point with this one is that we start by imitating, mimicking sounds, but we want to think of the sound as being very bright, the tongue being nice and forwards. It's also great to feel a bit more kind of horizontal at the back of the mouth. It'll feel much a smaller space, and thinking very kind of laterally, everything out to the sides. So first of all, just do a na 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 na. Then maybe a more bratty na 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 na. You can try a witchy nya ha ha, or even a meow meow meow. And it's great to just try these silly sounds because automatically it will put your voice in the right place. You could also try really talking like a cartoon character, and if you put your hands on your larynx, just speaking normally first of all so you can feel the change, and then you start speaking like a cartoon character, your larynx will just pop up there. And that's how you can get that higher larynx feel. And then you start to add a more bratty sound in as well. One of the best things someone said to me once when doing twang was, imagine you've got a letterbox at the back of your mouth. Everything is very, very horizontal. So we don't want to go for that darker vertical sound, which we often have in our British accents, but a bit more narrow, which comes up maybe in more American accents. So to access your twang, first of all, trying some na 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 na, and just get used to how it feels. We can then take this more into vocal exercises where we can start to explore how much of the sound we want to resonate in the nose, in the nasal cavity, or if we want the palate to be higher so that port is closed and more of the sound can resonate in the mouth. I can still make a very twangy sound if I'm holding my nose. Ah. And that's because of my larynx position, my tongue position, and that narrowing at the back. So a great exercise to try is the ng, but we'll try it on a higher pitch. Twang's a lot easier to access in our higher range. So imagine your tongue and your palate together at the back for our ng. Ng. And then the tongue is just lowering to make maybe a more nasalized sound. But if we want a little bit more space at the back, we want to feel our soft palate moving away so it moves up. So feel like you've got all of that set up with a na na na, na na na. But our palate just lifts and we find a little bit more space. So play around with this. Start really bratty, na 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 na. Find your twang and then see how much of twang you want to add into your sound. But really, it's just having fun with this. This is a fun sound, but it can be so useful to get a really strong voice where it feels quite effortless. Twang should feel easy. If you're starting to get constricted, it's likely that you're pushing too much air. You're trying to force a sound to happen. Twang tends to work the best when you're really relaxed. Na 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 na. We're not constricted at all. We're nice. Everything feels bright, open, free, and easy. Play around with it. Let me know if you've got any questions and let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching Quick Singing Tips. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more about different voice qualities and just singing tips in general. Thanks for watching and see you again soon.